Welcome back to Pest Profits, where we help pest control technicians, operators make more money in less time. I'm going to start a new series today called From Route Tech to Rainmaker, 6 Steps to a More Profitable Pest Control Career. And I really want to help technicians take that next step, make a little bit more money. Ultimately, right, my goal would be for you to be able to do what I've done, which is start your own company, right? I don't make millions of dollars or anything like that. But at least I own my own paycheck. And so I'm going to start today by talking about why pest techs stay stuck, right? And how you can break out of that, how you can start thinking a little bit more like an owner or an operator. And so, listen, I've been in pest control for 30 years. I remember back to when I very first started out, and over my career in working within companies, both as a technician, as a route supervisor, as an assistant manager, as a manager, I can remember there was always guys who were at the same company, some of them for 8, 10, 15 years, knew every product, knew every route, knew every customer's dog by name, right? But their paycheck never changed. They were always making the same money. Didn't matter, right? Summer, winter, year over year, didn't make a difference. They always were making the exact same amount of money, right? They were still renting their house, still driving the same old beat up car, and constantly saying, right, next year will be better, next year will be better, right? But, and what's crazy about that is it wasn't because they were lazy and it wasn't because they were stupid. In fact, most of them were pretty decent technicians. The problem is they never learned how to think beyond being a route tech. They never learned to think more strategically. So in this video, what I really want to do is show you some mindset shifts, right, that will help to separate you from other technicians, especially from the technicians who are going to stay stuck in the same truck, right, forever. And I want to help you become a rainmaker, right? Somebody who brings in the money. And so whether you stay as an employee at a company or whether you eventually get out and do your own thing, whatever it is that you decide that you're going to do, by the end of this, I hope that I'll have provided you with some ways to change your thinking if you want to change your income, right? So, listen, I didn't start out well, first of all, obviously, I did not start out as a YouTube guy. This is not my wiki up. This is not my cup of tea. But I do see a gap, right, in our industry. There's a lot of podcasts and stuff, like information out there for the guys that have 5, 6 technicians or the big companies, right, that are running thousands of technicians, on how they can increase their paychecks and how they can increase the effectiveness and they can increase the efficiency and productivity of their guys and all that kind of stuff. But I don't see very much information out there for the guy who's getting up every morning, getting in his truck and running his route. I don't see a lot of information out there for that guy on how he can make more money and how he can change his mind in order to do that. And so I'm still in a truck, right? I'm recording this late in the evening because I had a termite inspection that was after hours, right? I still get in attics. I still crawl underneath people's houses, not as much as I used to. It's got to have pretty decent clearance for me to get underneath a house now. I'm getting older, but right, when I first started out in this industry, I really thought that the game was simple, right? Run your route, don't get callbacks, finish your stops, go home, right? Get paid. That was really the way, right, that I kind of thought about things. But one day, I want to say, I can't remember if it was a route supervisor or a manager with the company that I was at, kind of pulled me aside and said, right, look, you've got a little bit of leadership, right, skill, a little bit more than maybe some other guys. And listen, here's what you're doing on your route. Here's how you could do a little bit better. And here's how you could position yourself kind of to move up. And so that was a long time ago now. That would have been back when I was originally I started off with Terminex. That would have been back when I was with Terminex a long time ago. And, right, I remember thinking to myself, right, like, look, we're all treating the same houses, same type of neighborhoods. We're all in the same type of trucks, right? We're all making the same kind of money. But then you run into a couple of guys, right? And I remember running into one guy who was doing considerably more than me. And thinking to myself, like, wait a second, right? Like, how's that guy doing that much? Like, he's in the office when I'm in the office in the morning. He's in the office when I'm in the office at night. Like, how is he doing that kind of money? And that was when I realized, right? Like, there was more to this thing of making money in pest control than just spraying people's houses and finding the most efficient route to get from house to house. That matters, but that's not the most important thing, right? There was an entire, like, profitable world of business going on around me that I was blind to pretty much, right? And so it wasn't because that guy was smarter than I was. It wasn't because he was using something special on his houses that I didn't know anything about. The difference was his mindset, right? He thought like my manager thought. He thought like the owners of the company thought. He thought like that, right? So he understood how to communicate with his customers and how to communicate with management. He understood how the numbers on his route worked, right? You know, you've sat beside a guy who writes his production value on his calendar every single day, how many stops he did, how many of those were callbacks and stuff. You sat next to somebody like that before. That's a guy who's understanding the value of what he's doing. And so when I started to pay attention to what I was doing, like he was paying attention to what he was doing, my paycheck changed. And yours will too, right? So what does it take to shift from technician to owner in your head, right? Or at least technician to, like, thinking like your manager in some ways, right? Right? Technician, here's how most technicians think, right? Including me, by the way, was how many stops do I have to do? Can I finish my route this month, right? How can I put my stops onto my route in such a way that my days are covered? And how can I avoid taking on extra work, right? I mean, you know that's kind of the way it works, right? That's the way that you think as a technician. And so your focus is very simple, right? Your focus is how many hours do I have to work and how do I fit my work into those hours? And sometimes you're stretching your workout to 50 hours, if you're honest about it, right? How many jobs do I have to do each day? And how do I just stay under the radar, right? Don't draw any attention from my manager and get myself in trouble, right? Basically, all you're thinking about, if you had to reduce it down to one sentence, is how do I make it through today? That's basically what you're thinking about. Owners don't think that way, right? An owner wakes up in the morning thinking totally different, right? Somebody who is a high producer wakes up in the morning thinking completely different. What he's thinking about is, what's my average production value per stop today? And which customers do I have that are the highest lifetime value on my route? And where can I make more money on my route, right? Where am I losing time, production? Where am I losing money at? How can I increase my profit margin as a route technician even, right? And what's something I can change? What is a system, an actual machine, right, that I can put into place that will help me to make my day, my week, my month, my year easier, so that I don't have to think to myself, well, did I do that? Did I accomplish that? Is that all done? And where am I? How many stops do I have left for the month? Right? What is a system I can put into place that will help me to answer all those questions without having to put a lot of thought into it, right? And so, listen, you're talking about two people that are working in the same industry, working for the same company, but have completely different mentalities, right? And so, right, the guy that is Well, here, let me give you a simple example, right? Two technicians can run the exact same neighborhood. One technician can show up, spray, say, you're all set, see you next time, right? He leaves. That guy is just checking stops off his list. You know this guy, right? Doesn't want to talk to his customers, doesn't want to have a conversation with the customer. In fact, the best day in his life is when nobody's home, right? That's his dream, right? And then you got the other guy, right? Like, well, all right, how much activity have you seen in between this visit and last visit, right? Have you seen spiders? Where have you seen spiders at, right? Have you noticed anything, right, inside the garage? Have you noticed anything inside the house, right? Hey, listen, based on, right, what I'm seeing, like, might make sense to do X, Y, Z, right? Might make sense. Hey, you know what? Why don't we do it's $150. I understand that, but let's do a yard spray. Right, once every quarter. Let's see if we can knock down the activity that you're seeing in between visits. Right, that guy's thinking like an owner. That guy wants his customers to be home. He wants to show them the value of having him to begin with, so that they stay on service, and then, if possible, to present them with a recommendation that will put $1 on his paycheck. That guy's thinking different, right? And so listen, those two guys can spend the exact same amount of time on site. They can put out the exact same amount of product. One is thinking like a route tech, and the other is thinking like an owner / manager, right, / high producer. One is thinking value, retention, lifetime customer. How can I increase my revenue, right? Listen, owners are not just out there seeing, right, bugs and houses, right? Owners are out there seeing profit margins and retention values. That's the way that owners think. And listen, the moment you start seeing that too, that's when you stop being just a tech, right? Listen, I know, like, lifetime value of a customer is really important, and the retention value of keeping that customer on is massive too. Because think about it, right? If you're doing a great job at that customer's house, you are reducing their problems, you're reducing your stress level, you're reducing, in some cases, you're even reducing the amount of time you have to stay on site, because that customer is so happy with you and so happy with what you're doing. And so you're maximizing your profitability somewhere else. And so, like, this stuff matters, right? So let me give you just 5 real quick things, right, to kind of help shift your mindset. And so, right, first, shift from, right, how many accounts do I have to service today, to how many customers, right, can I get in contact with today? Right, that simple little shift, right, changes it from I've done the service, I get my check, to I'm developing a relationship. Here's the thing, right? You want to be people's go-to person, especially when it comes to pest control. You want your name to be on their tongue whenever they hear somebody say something about a pest control issue. Right? I mean, that's really what you want. How do you protect your customer, right, year-round from having pest issues? And think about the relationship you're building with them, right? Because here's the thing. Accounts cancel. Friends don't, right? Relationships don't cancel. And so you want to build that with your customers. You want to build that relationship with them. Stop looking at them as accounts and start seeing them as who they are, right? When you see their name on your schedule, like, it should bring something up in your head. Oh, you know what? Their daughter plays softball, man, and right, like, I wonder how she's doing. And it shouldn't be, right, like, you got to think about it, right? Shouldn't be, that kind of thing. It should be the kind of thing where, oh man, I get to go see so and so today. Man, their daughter was in some softball tournament. The house that I was at today, and I did a termite inspection, I was saying after hours today. The house that I was at, that I was doing the termite inspection for after hours, their daughter just got a softball scholarship to Nebraska. She's going to be, right, playing softball for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Right? Like, that kind of stuff, like, should just be natural. right? That you think, oh, you know what? I can't wait to find out what's going on with this. I can't wait to find out what's going on with that, right? You should develop that relationship with them. Give you another shift here, right? A lot of technicians wear the fact that they're busy like it's a badge of honor. Nobody cares that you're busy if you're not profitable. Like, what difference does it make? So you're the hardest working technician in the office and you make less money than everybody else? Like, get real. I used to have a technician, in fact, when I first took over one of the offices that I managed for a while, I had a technician who would get at least an hour of overtime every day and do like 5 stops, right? Talk about how busy he was. Well, you and I both know he wasn't busy, right? But a lot of guys wear that busy, right? Like it's a badge of honor. Profitability is what matters. How profitable are you? Who cares how busy you are? How much money are you making? If you're making enough money, you won't care how busy you are, right? If you're running 12 of the lowest, right, production stops in the company, then you could be running 5, 6, 7 high producing, right, high production stops that would make you as much money as those 12 are making you, and you could do it in half the time, right? And so an owner is constantly thinking to themselves, how can I change this and make it more profitable, right? Not to the detriment of the customer, not to the detriment of the service, but, right, am I doing everything I can to maximize the profitability of this customer? That's the way that is the way that an owner thinks, right? They're not just asking themselves, well, is my route full? Do I have enough work? Well, I've got enough work, so, no, how much money could I make? That's the way that an owner thinks, right? You got to shift that mindset, right? From the technician mindset of, right, like I hope I did good last month, right? I hope my production check looks good. Owners don't think that way. Owners know what their numbers were. They know what their production was last month. They know how many stops they did. They know how many callbacks they did. They know all of that. They know exactly what that production is going to look like. They know, some guys know how many add-ons they did. Some guys know exactly how many one-times that they did. I mean, some guys are very meticulous, right? You find the guy in your office that's got those kind of numbers written down, I promise you that guy's making more money than you are. And he's making more money because of the way he thinks, right? I had a technician in my office used to track it like that. That guy would come to me at least once a quarter. At least once a quarter, he'd come to me with his paycheck and say, hey, I'm off by $100 or $200 or whatever it was. And a lot of times he was absolutely right. Right? It's not because the company's trying to short you. It's because, right, this stuff gets lost in translation when OPs or when the office staff is putting numbers in and all that kind of stuff. A lot of things get lost in the shuffle. And so sometimes you got to go back and you got to find it. You got to figure out where that went missing. But how would you know? Do you even know if the company that you're working for is paying you what they said they would pay you? Right? You're probably watching this because you feel like you're not making enough money, and if you don't even know whether they're paying what they agreed to pay you, like maybe you're missing money right there all by itself, right? So, listen, you got to stop hoping that your paycheck's going to look better and start actually tracking your numbers. Another shift, right, that should take place is technicians. A guy that has a technician mindset, he is an order taker. All right, just tell me what to do, boss. I'll do it, boss. Tell me what to do, boss. All right, he doesn't, right? All he wants to do is spray, be done. That's it. Right, the guy that is thinking like an owner gets a call for ants, shows up, and while he's taking care of the ants, he notices the spiders. He notices, right, that the weather stripping on the garage door is bad, that's a good entry point for rodents, right? He talks to him about, hey, listen, how can we solve all of your pest problems, not just the problem you called me out here for? That guy is thinking like an owner because he's thinking about, how can I maximize this? How do I maximize my profitability on this one stop? Instead of doing 12 stops to make this money, maybe I could do one stop to make that money. That guy's saying, you can think to yourself, some of you are going to watch this and you can think to yourself, well, that's just taking advantage of people. It's not taking advantage of people. Those people called you out to their house because they had a pest problem. They may not even be aware of all the other stuff they got going on, and they are going to appreciate it. They can say no. They're adults. We're all adults here, right? If you don't want a service, say no. You don't want to buy something, say no. Like, it's not that hard. And if you're the type of person who can't say no, whose fault is that? It sure isn't the guy that's offering you service, right? So listen, owners make more because they give more recommendations. They're not just out there writing down what the customer asked for. They're looking for everything that could help that customer achieve their desired goal, right? So listen, here's the last one, number 5 here, right? This probably is the biggest one, by the way, of all of them, and that is this. A tech uses these words all the time. We can't do that. My company won't let me do that. Right? Or, right, if you've been asked, well, why aren't you making sales? Well, the market is real competitive out there. You guys are doing stuff for dirt cheap. Right? Right? An owner doesn't think that way. An owner says, listen, how can I create more value inside of the constraints that I have? Right? Yeah, you got the ag department, you've got licensing, right? You've got all the stuff, all the hoops you've got to jump through. If you're in Southern California, you got a lot of hoops you got to jump through, right, in order to make a dollar here. But, right, listen, you can complain about it, or you can operate within the constraints. Right? It's the same thing if you're working at a company. If you're working at a company, listen, you can complain about, well, their rule is this and their rule is that, and they said that I can't do this and they said I can't do that. You can complain about it, or you can figure out how you can maximize your ability to make money within the constraints that they've set. The chances they're going to change for you are pretty slim. So your best bet is to figure out how you can make more money working their system. Right? And so listen, the question, you've got to ask yourself some hard questions, right? If you don't, you're going to stay stuck. If you don't start asking yourself some hard questions as a technician, you're just going to stay in the exact same spot you're in now. The reason I started a company, the company that I have is Pest Assassin. The reason I started this company is because I went to a meeting. One of the owners of the company I was a part of made a statement that made me feel undervalued. And I said to myself, maybe he's right. Maybe I'm not worth the money I think I'm worth. But I'm going to go out there and find out. That was it. Right? I had to ask myself some hard questions. Do you really think, Nathan, that you're only worth what you're getting paid? You've been in this industry. At that time, I'd been in the industry for 25 years, something like that, 22 years. Do you really think that you're only worth what you're getting paid right now, or do you believe that you're worth more? And if you believe you're worth more, how much do you believe it? Do you believe it enough, right, to put on your big boy pants and go give this thing a shot on your own? And I decided I did, right? And I've done well. I'm not knocking the lights out, right? I don't have 22 guys working for me or anything like that, but I own this. Right? And I'm making more money than I was making there. You've got to ask yourself some hard questions. So listen, do this, right? I'm going to give you some things you can do in between now and the next week when I come out with the second episode for this, right? So do this, right? Start tracking your numbers. Do it every day, right? How much production did you do? How many upsells did you do, and how many did you propose? Right? How many trouble calls or callbacks did you do that were worth absolutely no money to you? Right? Listen, you don't need some fancy computer to do it. You don't need a fancy app. Right? All you need is a notebook. Right? Even the notebook app, the notes app on your phone will work. Right? At the end of every day, just look at your schedule and ask yourself those questions. Okay, how much production did I do? How much of that was additional to what my production was already going to be? How many upsells did I propose today? And how many of these made me no money whatsoever except for my hourly? You really don't want to work for the hourly in pest control, right? And then you can start asking yourself questions, right? Once you've got some numbers to track, you can start asking yourself some questions like, listen, on the best day I've had, what did I do? On the worst day I've had, what did I do? That's the way that owners think, right? Here's the second thing. Change how you talk to people, right? Change how you talk to your manager at work. Start there, right? A technician tries to sneak past the manager's door, right? Doesn't want to get caught, doesn't want to have to talk to him, right? That's not the way that an owner type mindset works, right? An owner type mindset wants to talk to the manager. Hey, here's what I'm doing, but this is not enough. I need to make more money. Tell me how I can do it. How did you become a manager? How did you make it to where you're at? Tell me how I can get where you're at, right? Listen, start thinking. If you'll start asking those kind of questions, your manager will start looking at you like you are a partner instead of like you are an employee, right? He's going to start looking at you like, hey, you know what? This guy wants to help me achieve my goals. I'm going to help him achieve his goals because that will help me to achieve my goals, right? That's the way that works. And you say, well, not my manager. My manager is a douchebag and all this other stuff. I get it. I had managers that were like that too. If that's true, maybe you're in the wrong place, right? Maybe we can talk about that too. But the truth is, until you try this, you don't know whether your manager is actually a douchebag or whether you're actually the douchebag. You might be the douchebag who's just trying to avoid him, right? So, listen, I can remember when I came back into pest control, because I got out of pest control for a little while. I came back into pest control, became an assistant manager for a branch. And I remember a guy that, man, he had just barely started. Now he owns his own company too, by the way, but and we talk almost every day. But he asked me, like, I think I'd been there for maybe a month or two, or maybe he'd only been there for a month or two. And he came to me and asked me, right, like, hey, what do I have to do to become an assistant manager? Right? And he did. He became an assistant manager. He became a manager and now owns his own company. Right? Got to change the way you think. Right? Got to change the things you're asking yourself. Got to change the way that you communicate with those who are above you as well. Here's the third thing, right? Don't try to change everything, right, all at once. But, right, ask one customer on your route, right, each day, one new question, right? Like, hey, what's been the biggest issue you've had since the last time that I was here? Right? Are you having an issue with something that I haven't addressed? Or are you having an issue with something I don't know about? Right? Ask one question, right? And make at least once, right? At least once a day, try to upsell somebody. Right? Hey, have you considered having a termite inspection done? You say, well, listen, every company that I know gives you at least something. Even if it was just $15, that's $15 more than you got now. Right? I mean, come on. Right? They should give you more than that. I'll agree with you there. But listen, just one upsell a day. Just attempt one upsell a day. Right? Listen, and make a habit, right? Make a habit. Maybe even in your truck at lunch, right? Review your numbers. Take 5 minutes and just look at your numbers. Go, you know what? What can I change? How can I increase this? What can I make a difference? How can I make a difference here, right? Listen, that's all you've got to do. So, right, I just gave you the 3 things, right? You do that, I promise you, if you do just the 3 things that I just told you, those 3 things, right? Track your production, right? Your add-ons, your callbacks, track them on a regular basis. Ask at least one question at each stop that will help your customer to see your value. And, right, talk to your manager, right? If you got to choose from all the things that we've talked about, talk to your manager about how you can increase your production. If you do just those 3 things for the next 90 days, I promise you it will change your paycheck. Right? I promise you listen, you may not change your title. It may even put you in a position where you go, you know what, maybe I'm in the wrong place. I'm at the wrong company. Maybe I need to shift things. Right? But how do you know that if you don't start asking yourself some hard questions, right? So listen, in the next video, right, we're gonna take this further. We're gonna talk. I'm gonna try and break down some real numbers, right? How much you can actually make in pest control in some of the different roles, right? How the pay structures kind of work, and basically what has to change for you to move from the bottom to the top of the payroll, right? So listen, if you're serious about not being just a technician forever, then make sure that you subscribe, right? That you like this, and that you share it with somebody. And I'll see you next week for part 2. Thanks for being a part of Pest Profit.